Hey, I'm Matt. I'm with Let's Talk Music, and I'm here with Chris and James of Ashes to Omens. How we doing, fellas?
Great.
Hey,
How
what's up?
you?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on. So you guys are loosely based from Athens, Georgia. Um,
Yeah.
and you just dropped a new single, which is freaking. I loved it. Even my wife loved it. My wife's not much into music. She doesn't like the screaming stuff. So she really enjoyed it that you guys didn't do that. But
Sure.
she really liked the song, and it's called My Favorite Sin. So tell me a little bit about the song and what went into it, man.
Well, My Favorite Sin is the second of three singles that we're going to be releasing. The first one was Feed Me More that got released back in April of this year. It
Hmm.
was our first song, released after 2 years. Uh, and we decided to work with this gentleman by the name of Michael Gavares to produce the singles, produce a new album for us. And he's the frontman for the band Enix that's on tour right now. He's a great guy. But Chris and I wanted to, really push what sound that we were going to be putting out there, kind of get it into a more modern direction, and went into the studio. And this song was written almost entirely in studio, and so it was something a little bit different for us. And that was basically how it started. We just went in there and we worked with him for 3 or 4 days, and I think I ended up spending 16, 18 hours in the studio just working on just vocals with him. And we're, of course, we're really happy with how it turned out too. So,
Yeah, yeah, we're really happy with how it turned out. It was interesting writing in the studio. Mainly, I think the only thing that we wrote outside of the studio was the intro to the song. The very first thing you hear. Uh, Pretty much after that, when you go into the verse, when it drops down to just bass vocals and drums and just a little bit of guitar, all that was done in the studio. I think spent like um spent a good 10, 11, maybe 12 hours with the instruments on it, and I got to record it on a 7 string Dingwall bass, which is about a $4,000 bass. Which
Oh wow.
it's when he handed me that bass, it's like when somebody hands you their baby, you're like terrified you're going to drop it. It was an experience, and I enjoy working with Michael a lot. Like he's like I've seen a different side from things that we've done before. I've seen a different way that we're doing like how to do music through him. And a lot of what he says makes sense. And he coaches us when we're in the studio. He doesn't just say press record and say, okay, go. He'll tell James if something that he's singing sucks, or if something that I'm playing, he said, no, you need to change that.
Yeah.
Or we need to do this a little bit better. Give me more feeling to it. So Michael's top tier in my opinion.
It's kind of like Metallica when they did the Black Album. Mutt Lang kind of you know put him through stuff, or not Mutt Lang, but Bob Rock put him through stuff that they had never been through. And
right.
you seen that some kind of monster and all that other stuff, and how they got frustrated with that because they were so used to doing their thing. But I mean, I honestly feel like when you have an outside opinion like that and somebody that's really experienced in music, when they I think when they push you like that, it brings out your best music.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I think also just having like that someone that's not with us all the time while we're writing to give us a fresh perspective and a fresh outlook, or just a different idea in general. I think just helps the creative process, all around, because we've already got some new songs that we're working on to get ready to go. And we're excited to bring that to Michael and in and show him, hey, this is what we've been working on. Let's sit down and let's talk about these songs, and let's make them big, and let's make them dynamic and better. And he's always there to have a creative idea to elevate.
So the video, you directed it,
I directed it, yeah.
and it was produced by Halo Union Productions, which is
Right.
what a production company down there that's of good size. Or I mean,
So Halo Union are twin brothers, Ben and Nathan Walters. They went to school down here, where I actually graduated high school, and we've been knowing them for a long time. I met Ben and Nathan, gosh, I want to say 14 years ago when I was in another band, and they came to a show. We hit it off and wanted to do some basic recording of the show and try to get our new single videoed, live video. And I just stayed in touch with them over the years. That band, we went our separate ways, and then when Chris and I started this band in 2017, we immediately messaged them. I said, "Hey, we may have a project that you can work with us on," and not only did they say yes, but we're one of the few bands that they'll work with because they like working with us. They like us creatively. They like the music that we write, and they like that we're open minded when it comes to shooting videos. But their film production company now. So when they're not filming movies, they're doing stuff with us.
Right.
And we're excited to work with them. I want to say that they had their recent short. I could be wrong. I could be misstating here, but it was at a huge film festival like Cannes. It was a big deal, and it did really well. So they're on their way up.
Oh, yeah. I mean it's a basic video, but it grabs you. You get to see you guys, and was that a church?
It was, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and that's great because a lot of bands that I've interviewed recently, like even screaming metal bands, death metal bands, have done stuff in churches, and they're like, we went to ask this preacher, and we played the song for him, and he's like, yeah, I mean, go ahead, but it works, and I mean, and the lighting in there and everything was perfect. The girl was pretty hot, I mean, it
Sweet
just,
girl too.
huh?
She's a sweet girl too. She's really sweet. Like got to meet her and get to know her a little bit. She's really sweet. We like her a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good video, and the song, man, it's like I posted, you get on my Facebook earlier that it's a banger. I mean, it's it's straight rock and roll. It's not progressive metal or anything like that. It's just it's straight up. I mean, the part where the drummer gets going with the double kick, I really enjoyed that part. The solo's good. I mean, it's got all the freaking elements to make, a great song.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I listened to some of your other stuff, War Cry, what was it, The Conflict Within. Now, speaking of which, this one here, another
Nice.
brick in the wall, man. That was phenomenal. You guys did one hell of a job on that.
Thank you. We
Thank
were
you.
scared of that song.
We were, yeah.
We were scared to take that on.
What's funny is my mother grew up with the Pink Floyd song, but she had no idea that there were three parts to that song. She had only heard part two, the one that "We Don't Need No Education" part.
Right.
That's the only part she'd heard. So she thought when we wrote it for a long time that she said, "Did James write those lyrics himself and make it into a longer song?" I said, "No, that's part one and part three. We just turned them into verses and made it into just one song instead of three different parts."
Right.
Which I thought was funny because, like I said, it's my mother. She grew up in the 80s when, late 70s, early 80s. I'm not sure exactly when that song came out, but that was her era of music. She didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's my era too. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, but went and seen Pink Floyd actually on this tour, the Division Bell tour in 1994 at Ohio State's football field, the Horseshoe, and probably the most phenomenal concert I've ever seen. I mean, that their light show, their musicianship, everything was just on point. But I mean, the cover you guys did was just, I really enjoyed it. And I mean, obviously other people did too, because if you look at the YouTube comments, you know, all of them were positive. Nobody was like, "Oh, you destroyed that song." I mean, and covers are hard to do because you can butcher a cover and people will hate you for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that was one of those. I think that was what scared us a little bit because there's a classic rock station out here that's hosted by a colleague named Jackson Heaton. It's a station called 97.1 The River, and it's a great station. They play a lot of classic rock and Floyd, and they play the Stones and everything all the way up through like GNR and those guys. But um, that idea that came during one of Jackson Heaton's shows, and I'd listened to that song many times growing up. But for some reason, this one time I heard it different, and I called our guitarist at the time and told him what I was wanting to do, and he was as equally as, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And it's like, you know what, like let's find a way to honor what's there already. We're not going to make it better, so that shouldn't be the focus. Let's just focus on honoring it and doing it in a way that makes sense for us. And I think when we kind of went at it like that, um, it changed our mentality on it. It said, we can find a way to like make this our own and honor those guys and what they've done and respect the song, but also kind of, showcase what we can do a little bit. And it did really well. So far, it's like our most prolific song on Spotify with 120,000 streams. I would have never in a million years thought we would have got, a stream like that. Hopefully, we're on our way to getting that on some of our original stuff.
Right.
But as of right now, like we hear that a lot. People want us to play that song a lot, and we just don't play it anymore. We got tired of playing it.
So you just come out with a new single. You said something about you're going to be in Ohio in Centerville. So what obviously you're hitting the road. What are some other places you're hitting? And is there anybody that you're going out with, or are you just mixing up with local bands in different places?
Sure. Bit of both. So tomorrow night we're actually going to be playing in Gainesville, Georgia at Blackstrap Music Hall. We're going to be playing with a Atlanta local by the name of Vane. They're a great young act, very talented kids, and we're super excited to play with those guys. We're going to be opening for Living Dead Girl. They're on tour right now. They're also a very great band, and we look forward to that. Then in a few weeks, we're going to be playing our hometown in Athens here at a place called Nowhere Bar. It is a smaller venue, and we're going to be playing with a new band called We Shameless Few and Frisson. So we're excited to do that. But then later on, like I said, we're going to be doing just like a small tour. At that time is going to be to promote our new single that we're working on right now, and then from there it's gonna essentially be little short runs. We're going to play Asheville in the next few months. We hope to play Chattanooga in the next few months. So we're going to be doing a lot of weekend warrior kind of stuff while we're working on this album, which we're trying to finalize now. But in the next month and a half, we're going to rent a cabin up in the mountains here, and we're going to lock ourselves in for a week and finish writing the album.
Oh yeah. That's I've heard that with a lot of people. Just isolation really helps with the creativity.
Yeah.
Getting away from your comfort zone, your home. Because I feel like, and I've told them this, I feel like a lot of times when we don't feel like we're on the clock, we don't get as creative. But when we're in a place where we're paying for the room or something, it sparks creativity because we feel more of a crunch time. We're practicing in James's garage or at Nathan's house or wherever we're at. We feel comfortable because we can kind of, we got time. We're not paying for this. So it kind of stifles creativity, but if you get to a place like where we practice mostly Nucci space, we seem to write a little bit better. And if we're paying for this cabin, and we know we have, 3-4 days to write this music, I think we're going to see how it works. It may work, it may not work. And we're hoping that we're able to finish the album there.
So you and James are the original members.
That, and we have our original drummer back who's not in the chat right now. He was with us and he left for a few years and then he came back. So we have 3 originals back in the band that started the band. And another one that is not an original, but he came very early in the band's tenure. He's actually at the end of the Favorite Sin video, the priest that stands up and walks over and picks the guitar up. That was actually symbolic of our guitarist coming back. He's our guitarist. But he wasn't, we were saving him as a surprise because we were working with another guy and it just didn't work out with him. He's a great musician. We all love him to death. It just didn't work out with him. So he went his separate ways from us and we replaced him back with Nathan. And that was symbolic. The end of Favorite Sin that's symbolic of Nathan coming back to the band. But he's not an original member, but he's been with us long enough to be close. I think he started maybe a year after, 6 months to a year after we started the band. So he's pretty much an original member too.
So how'd you guys come up with the name Ashes to Omens?
We should ask that a lot.
Yeah.
The best explanation I got, so we talked about that when we were discussing the name, and I think our original guitarist David gave the best explanation for it. The one that I usually go with is the ashes from these old bands, because all of us had been in previous projects. Like Jamie was in Blind by Sight. I've been in several other projects, try to get bands going when I was younger, and I'm in a second band with 2 other members of Ashes now. But the ashes of those old previous bands are forming this omen that we are today, is from ashes to omens. It kind of bringing the ashes of those old bands that died out and forming what we have now. That's the best explanation that I've been able to come up with for the name of the band. That I like to go with that one when people ask me that question.
Yeah, sounds good to
Plus,
me.
we just really like the name.
Yeah, the name's just cool.
I mean, because I try not to ask that a whole lot. I guess it just kind of depends on the name of the band. What was the one that I did? God, it was a couple of years ago. They had the red jumpsuit apparatus.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. I
Yeah,
used to listen to them when I was a teenager.
I was talking to them guys, and I'm like, man, how did you come up with that name? And they was like, we just put some words together. There's no real big explanation on how it happened. It was just, and it is,
I always wondered that too.
yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, like, I don't know. It just, you grab something out of the air and you hang on to it. And it's the same with like a lot of songs anymore. I mean, you're like, well, how did you come up with that? Some of them have a backstory and some of them don't. And I mean, it's cool either way. I mean, it's all that creative juices flowing at the time, and you're taking the pen to the paper, and it just, whatever comes out, it can catapult you forward, or people can be like, yeah, that was all right. But like I said, this is the first song that I've heard from you guys. I just actually, this is the first I've heard of you through Shauna, and I was like, man, I really like these guys. And I listened to that song and I was like, man, that's a good jam. And that's the thing, is like, what I try to do is, yeah, I would love to go and do some live interviews with Metallica, Megadeth, bands like that or whatever. But my thing is I want to talk to the ones that are still hungry. The musicians that are writing because they want to, the guys that are playing because they want to, not the guys that are like, oh, well, we'll take this studio music, this cookie cutter stuff, and we'll play it on an album. There's too much of that anymore. And I'm just going to say there's one of those bands that, Five Finger Death Punch, that, did a lot of cookie cutter stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love Five Finger, but I think a lot of their albums are just as studio work.
Yeah, yeah. I'm back and forth with Five Finger personally. I like their slower stuff. Not a big fan when what's his name, Ian Moody.
Yeah.
When he gets in that aggressive, kind of singing like he's real mad about something. But I like a lot of their slower stuff too. I think he's a good. I think when he tries, he's a really good lyricist. He's a great lyricist. But some of the heavier stuff I'm not a fan of personally. But not a bad band.
Yeah, it just, it's one that I can use because I know that there was some controversy there for a while because they put like 3 albums out back to back to back, and they're like, how it doesn't have no feeling, and that's what I'm saying. Is I like to talk to the people that still have that feeling, and the people that are trying to make it. And some of them that I talk to aren't even trying to make it; they just want to get out and play. They just do it for fun. And it's great to talk to the up and coming bands, because I mean, you hear so much different stuff. I mean, there's people that are blending genres that I thought I would never hear, I just it's great, and I feel like me being able to be a part of talking to you guys and putting you on YouTube, and even if it gets 50 views or 50,000 views, you might pick up some new fans from that, and that's kind of my goal with this.
Sure.
And same, like, we'll share it on our page and our people will go watch it and, try to get you more followers as well. I mean, it's kind of like a trade-off there. Your followers come see us and our followers come see you.
So let's talk a little bit about your live shows, man. To tell me what kind of energy you give out at your live show, and what you want back from that crowd.
Uh, Jamie, should I start with the bass player's energy on the stage?
Sure.
I've almost smacked every member in this band in the head with my bass stock because I can't hold still when I'm on stage. I love stage performance. I don't write complex bass lines. I do sometimes. I try to throw a little, flavor in the bass line, but I try to, most part, I don't see the need in making a crazy bass line for every song, because the more I'm having to focus on my fretboard, the more I'm having to focus on, where I'm at in the song or whatever, the less I can interact with the crowd. I'd much rather be down there having the crowd feed off of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be able to get down and talk, put my head on somebody's forehead, button our foreheads together, playing and everything. And going out in the crowd, if I'm, not wired, corded, I have a wireless rig, I can go out in the crowd and just play on the floor. Even if there's a stage, I go out and play on the floor. I live off of their energy. I could never be one of those bands that's, we're one of those people that stand still on stage. There's too much going on for me to want to stand still, and the crowd loves it. They just feed off the energy that I personally put on stage, and the rest of the guys, they all have great energy too. I'm not trying to make this just about me. It's just for me personally. It's I feed off of their energy and feed off of the rest of the band's energy. I can't stand, one thing I can't stand is when bands are playing live, be it, local bands, sign bands, whatever, and the band members don't acknowledge one another on stage. They're like, okay, I play bass, so I'm just going to focus on the bass. No, turn around and play to your guitar player, turn around and play to your drummer, play to your singer. The singer needs to turn around and acknowledge the guitarist, and the drummer and everything. I can't stand when they act like they're the only one on stage. That always drives me crazy.
I agree. How about you, James? What kind of energy you like to give out?
I like to more or less feed off of the crowd itself. We just had our first show back after a long sabbatical at the 40 Watt in Athens a few weeks ago. It was nearly sold out, and all the people that came to see us told us, "Man, this is the best show we've ever seen from you guys." Like, wow. And that's what we want. That's what I want. I want the energy to be there even as the crowd is leaving. I want people to be singing our music back on the way to their car. That's I want to be I want our music to be remembered. So when we play shows, or when I'm up front, I want to give the energy that I'm getting, and if it's low energy, then I want to get them energized. So I try to give and take both from that crowd, and and at the same time, to Chris's point, interacting with everyone that's on stage too, because people see through bullshit a mile away.
Oh yeah.
And when we're on stage, we want to have fun, and I think that we're at the point in our career where, yeah, we'd love to do this full time. I'd love to get up and write music and tour all the time. That's the end game. That's what we want. But I don't want to do that at the expense of not having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that we're having a great time while we're on stage, and great time before and a great time after. And I think the most recent show that we've had, people acknowledge that. People see that, and I think they respect us more for it. So
I think there is a point where that does happen, where it becomes, I mean, it ultimately it's a job, but to some bands that have been around for ages, it is just kind of like a job. They get out there, and like Chris was saying, they just get out there, they stand there, they do their thing. Like Tom Petty, love Tom Petty, but never got to see him in concert, but a friend of mine did, and said that he hardly moved. He just stood in front of the microphone and played. And that's not what people want to see. Whether you're, I'm 48 years old. So whether you're older or whether you're a young kid, you want that energy from the band. And the band wants that energy from the fans. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole point of a live show is it's all right there on the table.
I
And
don't ever want to hear any singer, no matter how old they get, or any band for that matter. No one can ever give any excuse for standing still on stage. I went recently and I got to see Rob Halford play,
mm,
and that man was everywhere on that stage. And I think I could be wrong, but I think he's mid to late 70s.
yeah, he's
So
a
if Rob Halford is still doing it, oh man, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for anyone. You know.
Bruce Dickinson. I mean, he's in his 60s.
Yeah. Oh, and also the Rolling Stones. I just saw the Rolling Stones recently. I can't believe couldn't remember that. And Mick Jagger's is like he's in his mid 80s and like come out and just like spinning in a circle and then just walking down that catwalk and just high energy performance for an hour and a half. I never in a million years expected that. So
Right.
it's like if they can do it, why aren't everyone else doing it? Why isn't all these other bands? Every band needs to have high energy because that's people are paying to see you. Give them a show.
I think that, yeah, that's what I was supposed to say. I think that, people go to concerts, they're not going there to hear somebody play music and just play music because you can get that off the album. Why would you waste your money going to a concert at that point? You're there to see a show.
Right.
You want to see the theatrics that come along with the music. And one good band in this band is not the age group that y'all were just, talking about with the guys y'all were just talking about. But me and Jamie went and saw Disturbed back in October, and they put on a show. I mean, it wasn't just they got there and played 10 songs and got off the stage, or 15 songs, however many they did, and they got off the stage. I mean, they put on a show.
Mm.
That's what you go for. You go for a show. Breaking Benjamin went on right before them, and they put on a show. Ginger, we unfortunately missed half their set, but the little bit that I did saw, they put on a show. It wasn't just playing music and going and okay, bye, and getting off the stage. That's important. That's the difference between just somebody listening to your CD or your Spotify or whatever, and somebody coming to your shows. They want to be entertained while you're there. It's like a stand-up comedian. If you go to see a stand-up comedian, he just tells a joke in a monotone like voice. It's not funny. But
Right.
when they put those theatrics on with it, and make the faces and and the voice inflections and everything when they're telling their jokes, it just makes it that much funnier.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
I agree. Now, I mean, my last live interview was with Taproot, and he mentioned it in the interview, but I didn't really think he was going to do it. It was at the King of Clubs here in Columbus, Ohio, an amazing venue. And Steven, the singer, actually jumped off the balcony into the crowd. And I mean, the dude's he's got to be in his 50s because I grew up to Taproot, and he might be same age as me, somewhere around there. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, jumping off a damn balcony into the crowd, and I was like, the crowd just lost it, dude, and that's what it's all about. And I mean, I grew up, like I said, 80s and 90s, so I mean, I seen Pantera and Skid Row together. I mean, you want to talk about a freaking energetic show. Um, but you
Feeling
know,
someone's a nut.
yeah, yeah. So was Dimebag, but I
Yeah.
mean, it is, man, and I'm glad that you guys feel that way because that's one of the biggest things, like you said, people are paying to see is that energy, the show. And man, I God bless you guys for doing what you do. I mean, it's awesome. I like I said, I've liked every song I've listened to. I look forward to maybe hearing some more music from you guys. You say you're coming out with something new. When's that going to drop?
Yep. So we're gonna go in studio actually next week and track our next single, which is called Vultures. And right behind that, we're gonna shoot a video, and it's gonna be coming very fast. And in fact, that's what the next series of shows is essentially going to be, to promote that song and that video. So I suppose it's going to be end of August when that's ready to go, or the first week of September. It's going to be somewhere around that time. So you're looking at about a month.
Okay, sounds great. All right, guys. Well, we're almost out of time, and I just want to say thank you very much for being on.
Sure.
Um, you heard it here. The new song's coming out, within a month. Looking forward to it. Ashes to Omens. Like I put on my Facebook, check it out on YouTube. My favorite sin. Awesome video, awesome song. And guys, I'll try to maybe come see you when you're in Centerville, see if I can see some of that Chris and James energy.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
All
Thanks,
right,
man. Appreciate you having us.
no problem. You guys have a good evening.
You too, man.
All right, later.
Later.